I think I'm live. Um, this is Alex doing a new idea I've been bouncing around for a long time. I've been wanting to do a radio show style podcast ever since I um started doing this types of stuff. Actually, my one of my embarrassing secret dreams has been that I've always wanted to be a radio DJ for a talk radio show as my as like my dream job. You know, not as like the dream job that you can like um that makes you like a bajillion dollars or whatever, right? But I mean, it's kind of a silly idea, but you know, it's nice. It's a cool idea. I've always wanted the ability to just talk to people. Um so this is episode 1, I guess, and if anybody likes it, then I guess we'll go with episode 2 going forward sporadically. Also, I'm of course apologetic for not streaming very often if you're watching this on Twitch, and then not uploading podcast episodes very often if you're watching this on YouTube as a podcast or whatever. Me and Jacob kind of dropped the ball with personal things going on after we moved and stuff. We plan on getting that back together, and if I don't get called out for work, the 26th, I will be having an interview with someone that even I've never met before. So that'll be an episode of the normal I Have Work in the Morning interview podcast. So that'll be great. Um, the idea for this podcast stemmed from, like I said before, the late night radio talk shows, and I've always wanted to be on one or host one or interview. I like coast to coast, but you know it's too paranormal sometimes, and it's sometimes too ridiculous with the points that people are making, or sometimes it's too boring with the fact that the person thinks that they're a know-it-all about the subject or something like that. And I just want this to be a rambling, calm, talking podcast. It'll be solo. I probably won't usually have people on. But if someone had questions, you know, you post them in chat. I'd be willing to answer them if it was about the topic we're talking about, or somebody wanted to call in. You know, you could post your Discord tag, and I could invite you to the Discord server I have, and we could figure something else out. You know, that's for the future. You know, I only have a couple people watching live, but just wanted to get that out of the way first. I um and by rambling podcast, you know, all day I've been thinking about these two topics, and one of them has been bothering me for a long time. Um, the first topic, which is the less severe one, is I've been thinking a lot about. For those of you who don't know, if anybody listens to this in the future and doesn't know me very personally, I live in the north part of California, um, past Sacramento, where it becomes the actual north state, and up here there's a like a true crime story of something that happened abnormally where these 5 guys disappeared in the middle of the Plumas National Forest, and they're called the Yuba Five or something like that. It's referenced as the Yuba Five. It references the name references the Dilatov Pass incident, you know, the famous Russian one. And there's been millions of podcasts on this topic. There's been videos. There's been essays. People will talk about the subject way more than me. But up here, um, up here up north, it comes up a lot more often than you'd think. On Reddit, on local news, people mention stuff about it all the time. Any break in the case is enough to mention for anybody to listen to. Um, I find it interesting that there's something that's so bizarre that everybody can get around. You know, usually community events get around stuff like um sorry, let me get some water real quick. I'm a little unprepared for this. I was thinking about it all day and made myself really nervous. But there's usually people get around stuff like farmers markets or fairs and stuff like that, and there's that up here. But anything that involves from like Yuba County north, any of these counties reference any news about this situation, and they just go crazy. People eat it up, and me included. I love the topic. I love the situation. For those who are unfamiliar, they're in the 70s. Let me see. I have the Wikipedia page up real quick. In the in 1978, this group of five debatably mentally challenged guys. It says they have intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions, but these guys went from Yuba City to Chico for a basketball game to just watch a basketball game, like some college basketball game or some shit like that. And they went to the basketball game, they made it, and then they went to a gas station and bought snacks for the drive back. Then they disappeared that night. They didn't get home that night. They didn't arrive home the next morning. Nobody knows why. Um, their ages were from 24 to 32, and um, more and more evidence came out that they had driven their car up into the national forest where it was snowing. They had abandoned their car. They got lost in the snow, and eventually some of their bodies were found. I'm not too keen on going in depth on everything that's going on with this case, but some abnormalities are that they went up there when they had no reason to. They were all mentally, uh, they all had intellectual disabilities, so they were very routine in their life. There was no reason for them to go out there. Like they didn't know anyone out there. They ended up somewhere that's approximately like 22.5 hours away from their city and 2 hours away from Chico. So it's not even close to Chico. So it was snowy, it was cold, it was dark, it was late, and they had no reason to be up there. Um, what's also weird is that they had abandoned their car, which had gas in it, and it was just in a snowbank. There was no issues with it. It wasn't even trapped or they couldn't get it out of the snow. It was just it's a weird situation. They found them in a ranger station, or they found one of them in a ranger station 20 miles away from where the car was. Months later, passed away because he hadn't eaten any food. But the ranger station was actually filled with food. So that brings up a weird abnormality. They found evidence at the scene, including a watch that none of them had owned, a lighter that none of them had owned, which is strange, of course. And um, it's just overall, thinking about it now, it's just overall a weird situation. Like putting the evidence in line, none of it makes sense. My theory would have to be that someone at the basketball game was like, "You should come with us to do this thing," right? Or took advantage of them being, so gullible and so trustworthy. It was like, "You should come with us to do this thing," and then took them up there and then put them in danger, and then that's pretty much what happened. But because there's an eyewitness testimony from a guy who was on the road the same time as them, he had pulled over because he had a heart attack, which surprised me because I had never heard of anybody being able to do any physical activity with a heart attack. But he pulled off to the side of the road and sat there while the pain happened. And then he saw the five guys, and then what he describes as a woman carrying a baby. And um, no one had ever seen them with any woman. No one had ever seen any baby, obviously. And later on, he had an eyewitness account again when he pushed his car out of a ditch, which surprised me too because he had just had a heart attack. When he pushed his car out of a ditch, he noted that he saw them again, but without the baby and the woman. Which is, what does that mean? Maybe he missaw. Um, Sorry, I was checking my phone. Um, that nobody had saw. This woman, it was pretty abnormal. There was not really any other eyewitness accounts besides his. There was a woman who states that she lived in like this small country town that I've actually driven through, I believe. She was at this country store and she said that she saw them in a red pickup truck when one of the big major evidence factors of this whole um, investigation was the fact that they had owned a Mercury Montego. So definitely not a pickup truck. You know, it's pretty strange situation. Um, sorry, like I said, I'm pretty rambly right now. I apologize, but getting back on track, the Mercury Montego was found. They were not found for days, for weeks. They were searched, and then they waited until the snow had melted, and then it finally found them in the ranger station, which was pretty was a pretty big break in the case. The guy who was found in the ranger station, I believe his name was, I believe it was Jack or Ted, one of those two. The names of the five guys were Bill Sterling, Jack Hewitt, Ted Wheeler, Jack Madruga, and Gary Matthias. So they found this guy in the ranger station, starved to death and frostbitten, but the ranger station was full of food. And I should specify that the ranger station wasn't full of food in the sense that there was just food on the ground, right? Like, that's obviously they would eat that, but there was a locker outside that was full of enough food for like five people for a year or some crazy amount of canned and dried food. And they hadn't broken it open. They'd broken open the locker on the inside, which didn't have very much stuff in it, but um, they didn't break open the locker on the outside. He also died of frostbite, like I mentioned, which is strange because there was a um, fuel tank that was outside that they could have used, that they could have turned on to turn a fire on to have a heater for at least maybe like a week or something, just any amount of time with heat, right? They also had firewood nearby and matches and lots of fire making stuff that they could have made fires outside. It was just pretty strange that they didn't use any of the resources around them, which means that, well, I mean, it doesn't mean, but it implies that they were probably dictated to not use them by someone else, whether that be one of them who was maintaining like some type of leadership position or something, um, or some other third party who had showed up in this scenario. Like I said, my scenario, I believe that someone met them at the basketball game and told them that they should leave with them to go do, I don't know, maybe like a party or like do like scary stuff. I could show you some scary stuff. Like, people do stuff like that all the time. They meet up with random people and they're like, hey, want to be friends for the night or whatever. Definitely more so in the past. I don't know nowadays, but so eventually there was a search started in that area where the ranger station was, and eventually they found three of the other guys had passed away. Two of them were completely together, but there was extreme decay on their bodies. They weren't frozen very well like the guy in the ranger station was. And then the fourth guy they found completely, torn apart to different parts because he probably attacked by animals or something like that. But the interesting thing is that they never found the fifth guy, who was the oldest guy out of all five of them. Um, his name was Gary. Oh, he wasn't actually the oldest. I don't know why I said that. I'm looking at the wiki now. His name is Gary Matthias. He was a ex-military officer, as but he was honorably discharged because he had schizophrenia, and so they had described him as being a very weird guy, as having a lot of weird issues that went along with his schizophrenia. As in, I heard a story that I read somewhere in an article that he had not even hitchhiked. He had walked all the way from Portland, Oregon to Yuba City, walked, no hitchhiking. So he said he proclaimed that he did this by stealing milk from people's doorsteps and then eating dog food from dogs that were outside, which is insane to me. That sounds like technically a more interesting story than what went on here, but they never found him. So, but he had gone through stuff like that in the war and in his own life. That seemed to be imply that he was stronger, more will wise than these guys. So maybe he could have lived, but no one has ever found any evidence. That you think this guy would come forward with all this coverage, right? You don't think he would be like, "Oh, I never heard of this," right? "Oh, I never heard anybody mention anything." Um, so he's gone. The other guys have passed away, unfortunately. But evidence, like I said before, evidence comes out every now and then about the missing persons case, and people here just eat it up. They love it. I think they found something recently on a nearby mountain range. Wow, this bitrate thing on Twitch is weird. Um, they found some more like clothing or something. Everyone was just like speculating on stuff like that, and I was like, man, animals can carry clothing pretty far. Driving through these mountain ranges for work and stuff. For those who don't know, I travel pretty often for work. I drive around these mountain ranges sometimes to get to places for work, and there, from where I'm from originally, there's not a lot of remote areas like this. Like this is like remote. Like I would love to interview some of these people who live in these towns that have populations of like 60 or 70 people, like max. Like it's insane to me. There's a town that I'm kind of familiar with called Downeyville that I live a little bit from. I go there sometimes. It's a populated town. People do stuff, people get along, but it has like no population. It has like maybe like 100. Like I could look it up right now. I'm on Wikipedia. Let me see. 282 people live in one town. Like that's crazy to me. I don't know. It's a pretty famous town for mountain biking. They have a really big yearly mountain biking event. So anybody who likes mountain biking, you guys should probably get into something like that. Get into following that race. But these towns are like remote. It's crazy. I think I passed towns that have like 14 population and stuff, and I see that they have a store, and they don't have much else, obviously. I just wondered the logistics of those types of stores. Like, what are they? Who? How do they stock it? Who stays there? Like, who works there? What do they do? Who do they sell to? Like, it's just I don't know. I couldn't imagine living like that. I couldn't imagine living somewhere where I have no internet, where I have no phone, and like I guess that's what people want, right? People want to convince you can't live without those things, and as a tech savvy person, obviously you want to have these things. You're not going to want to give them up. I mean, if I didn't have internet, how would I stream this, right? Thanks, David. Sorry, I'm choking on my water. If I don't have internet, how would I stream this? How would I upload this? How would I connect with these people, right? It's just abnormal to me. Not it's not unheard of though. I mean, I would like to live somewhere more remote a little bit. I guess I have the perfect balance of where I live right now, but it's uh it's scary to be somewhere where you're completely alone. You're 45 minutes, an hour away from the nearest big city. Like, what happens if an emergency happens? What happens if a fire happens, right? How do you get that information out? If you're in danger, if your friends are in danger, if your neighbors are in danger, there's strength in numbers with cities. Rohan will answer. That's true. That's true. You could send someone by horse, and then they could help you out. Uh, the other topic I wanted to talk about is this weird thing I've been dealing with lately. So I've had, obviously I've had pretty distinct dreams. Lots of people have pretty distinct dreams. Night terrors, vivid dreams, stuff like that, whatever. But I keep having these two reoccurring dreams that have happened so much in the past like 3 or 4 years that I remember them as if they actually happened. So in my first dream, give me a second, let me try to explain this one. Let me pull up a map, see if this place doesn't really exist. Yeah, this place doesn't exist. There's no other place like this. Okay, so in my first dream, I'm visiting a town that's basically the equivalent of like Reno and Vegas mixed together. It's all flat, like Reno is, right? Most of the buildings are not super tall, but there's still casinos like in Reno or like in Vegas, but everything is super well lit up. And I'm traveling here for work, I think, in my dream. I'm not too sure why I'm traveling to this, but I know I'm not paying for the room. Okay, that's all that matters, right? Thank you for following, David. Um, I I'm not paying for the room that I'm staying at in the hotel in this made up city, Reno, Vegas crossover, whatever. Um, and the room is accessed through this elevator that's like a cylinder, and then you stand in the cylinder and it raises you up like 80 floors. I was gonna say feet, but that's inaccurate. I'm like 80 floors, and then it drops you off in a room that is basically like a hostel. Um, Not like a hostel like the movie Hostel. Sorry, I'm distracted by chat right now. Everyone's just shit posting. But it's a room where there's like 6 or 7 bunk beds in a cylinder, but no one else is staying in this room. It's just me. I can have guests or whatever, but I never see anyone. I never meet anyone. And the bottom floor of the hotel casino, whatever it is, has tons and tons of food places, like food places I've never even heard of, like sushi burritos and Mexican Asian food, and I don't know, it's weird. I don't remember anything distinctly that I eat, just that the food places are really weird. But that's the first dream. I have that like every couple of weeks, and it's so strange to me because I obviously really like Vegas. I mean, that's one of my favorite vacation spots. I mean, I've been to Reno a bunch of times for work, but none of these like none of the places stood out the way that does. It's I don't know why I would stay a place like there. I don't know why I would be driving around a place like that. And I don't know why I'm alone. In real life, if I was gonna go somewhere, I'd probably take Jacob or something like to scope some place out. Unless it was for work, like why would I go by myself? That's pretty stupid. But the second dream is the most worrying because I vividly remember it the most. Like it's factually a memory in my brain, and that's why it's weird to me. Um, in my dream, me, my friend Michael Castillo, Jacob and then Jacoby and Christine went to stay at this cabin in the mountains of South California, which doesn't exist, or it doesn't really exist. There's the ones right before LA, obviously, that you got to drive over, but this is like a weird mountain town. Um, I remember looking at it on a Google Maps. I couldn't remember the name. John, you're in my dreams, but not these memory dreams. You're in my dreams where I dream about like I'm like, damn, I can't wait for Cyberpunk. Okay, that may be true, but I'm verifying I'm 100% accurate that this place I've never been to. It doesn't exist. There's no mountain town that looks like this that's also right near a giant desert that's also adjacent to a giant field like that I can see all with one viewpoint. Like it's like comical the way that it is. Like not even comical. It's like it's written in a book. Like it's too perfect to be true. And so I have this dream, right? All five of us go. We go to this cabin, and this cabin is huge on the outside. It is built like nice wood. It looks like it's 2 stories. There's a pool. There's a lake nearby. Beautiful cabin. It it would be amazing to be at. But when you get inside, it's a long rectangle with just beds, and the inside is cinder blocks, like is made out of cinder blocks, which factually cannot exist. Which is why I know it's a dream, because of only because of that and one other thing that I'm like, I know that this didn't happen. I was so confused this morning from having this dream again that I texted Castillo. I was like, did we go to some town, South California, that was like a rural mountain town? And he was like, bro, no, why would we ever? And I was like, that's true. Why would I ever drive 8+ hours away from my town for something like that? But either way, we get there and no one else is acting weird about this cabin. Everyone is like, this is what we signed up for. Everyone's fine with it, which is like, okay, maybe I'm the one who's freaking out over nothing. Maybe I'm acting weird. Whatever. So I have a duffel bag. I never have a duffel bag. There was never in a billion years would I have a duffel bag to pack my clothes. Okay, so I always have some stupid ass luggage container, or I have a backpack. Why would I? I'd never in a million years have a duffel bag. So that's abnormal, right? And then everybody sleeps on like a twin single mattress. Me, Castillo, Jacob, Jacoby, and Christine sleep on separate beds. So it's like, all right, maybe I'm in a scenario where no one picked this cabin. Why am I here? And no one will answer why I'm here. So I'm assuming it's because of vacation. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go swimming or whatever in the lake. And then Castillo's like, no, we got to go get food. And I'm like, okay. So I go with him to get food. We all go in his car to get food at this. It's literally pizza factory. Okay, so it's a pizza factory. So I even looked up pizza factory locations to be like, did I actually go to this? Does it really exist? And it doesn't. That's the second thing that told me this is a dream. Why would there be? Why would I? Of all the places in the world, I'm pretty sure it stems from a conversation I had with John like forever ago about rural cities having pizza factories. But still, why would I dream that? Why? What? I don't even like Pizza Factory that much. I mean, it's good, but like, Christine, you're lying to me right now. You're fat ass cap right there with that. I remember this. You're lying to me. But we go to a pizza factory, and the pizza factory has all glass walls, like all glass window style walls that you can see in, and you can see people in there. And it's next to like some smoke shop. And I'm wondering, I'm like, why the fuck does this town with like 9 people have a pizza factory and a smoke shop? But I didn't see a single gas station coming into this town. It's just this town makes no sense to me. And yeah, it's a little bit scary the way I'm describing it. But like it's so vivid in my mind, and I have this dream so much that it had to have happened. I've I must have lived through it so much in my dream that I believe that it happened or something. But like, it makes me wonder, like, what else can do that? You know, can you be gaslit into having dreams as memories by other people? Like everyone's gaslighting me in chat right now? Or like, could you convince yourself that a memory was a different way? I mean, obviously you can, but I mean, is this what it feels like? Like, to go from the pizza factory thing, we didn't even get pizza there. I forgot what food we get or some shit, but we don't even get pizza. And I'm like, wow, that wasn't even worth it. And then someone's like, yeah, we should probably start heading back. And I'm like, oh, to the cabin? And they're like, nah, I don't think this is going to work out. We should just leave. And I'm like, okay, are we going to go back to the cabin and get our stuff? And Castillo's like, no, we don't have time. And so I'm like, maybe that's why I packed a duffel bag because I wasn't gonna give a shit about that stuff. I don't know, but we drive back, okay, and this is where this factors in. We drive back down a mountain, and on the right of the road is a desert, fucking straight out of a picture book, straight out of a video game desert, right? Dunes, sorry, not mounds, dunes, sand, and the hot ass sun, right? That's it. But there's no roads. It's just on the right of the road. Then on the left is this big field, like with flowers and with um green grass and little creeks, but again, no roads. And in the middle of the field, there is, I swear, I know this story is just getting more ridiculous by the second, but there is a giant like barn that looks exactly like the cabin that we just came from. Like, it's not a cabin, it's a barn, obviously, because it could fit like planes in there or some shit. Like, it's huge. It is huge. And right outside of it is a group of like 40 people wearing like white clothes, all holding hands and like talking to each other and like singing. And I don't know why I can tell that. I'm like 40 miles away with like binoculars type shit, like at the top of the mountain. Like, what the fuck is that shit? And I can tell what's going on. And we go and we see them. Because he was like, we have to go see them. And I see them and I'm like, what is this? What is going on? And they invite us into their barn cabin type thing. And there's all kinds of like not creatures, like skeletons of animals on the wall and moose heads and all that stuff. And like, I don't know why I'm there. And there's a woman there. There's a woman and a guy there who are like in charge, I guess. And they talk to me, and I wish I could tell you guys what I remember what them saying, but like for real, Shelby, I don't know what they were saying. I don't remember any time, but we always have a conversation, right? Then they lead me outside, and then some music starts playing, and then I always get up because I fucking suck at sleeping. And I can never make it past that. I don't remember anything past that besides looking at a Google map on my phone and seeing the name of the town we're in now and seeing it like directions back to Fresno. And I couldn't I could not tell you that name if I wanted to. When I looked where I thought this city, this town, this cabin oh man, I'm having a mind blank. This cabin barn place is, it's Mammoth Lakes, right? That's like the location it is on the map or whatever. But that's not even, that's not, I you look geographic, that's not what that is. That's not where it is. And I don't know why I have this dream. I've been having it ever since I moved. I don't know what it means. And I wish I could know what it means. My brain's probably playing a trick on me because there's stuff from that dream that I remember happening in other situations in my life. But like, man, I I don't know. I just really don't know. Um, and it just scares me. Not like not like crazy, like I'm in tears, like fear, but like it scares me that something like that can influence your mind so heavily, right? Like you think like, oh, drugs or trauma or stuff like that influences your mind, obviously, but just simply dreaming of something multiple times has made me think when I wake up that it happened. I have to convince myself that it didn't happen. I have to ask people, right? I have to text people, be like, "Hey, did this happen?" Like, no, what the hell? Um, the only other trip I remember happening similar to this was the one where I went to go light up fireworks with Jacob and Castillo, and then Castillo ripped his pants. But that was up north. That was near San Francisco, so that couldn't have possibly been it. Like, I don't know. It's a weird. It's a weird story, but I really been wanting to say it to everybody, to get it out there. Maybe if my friends weren't shit posters, they could have told me what their idea was of the scenario. Um, I really don't know why there was a pizza factory there. Like, it was a nice pizza factory too. Look, let me put the pizza factory website. I'm pretty sure they're all like north of Fresno at least. Maybe I do just want to eat pizza, right? And that's why I've been having the dream for 2 years. Yeah, dude, there's no pizza factory near LA, south of LA. That didn't happen. Indio? No, this isn't even close. I've been to these towns. No. Stupid. But man, they have some stupid names for towns. That's probably what it is. But I wish I could describe it better in the sense that it doesn't feel like it's a dream. I know it's happening while I'm sleeping, but I remember lots of things in my life when I sleep. So it's like I wake up and I can recall like, oh, it was like 6 months ago. It was after the time we went to the cabin up here, but it was before I went to Vegas. That's what the time frame is for my mind. But what does that mean? What it makes no sense. Um, so yeah, if you guys ever experience anything like that, I obviously would like to hear about it. Let me know. It's a cool, interesting topic to me. Um, that's probably where I'm gonna cut it short. Thank you guys for watching for whatever time you guys watched. I guess my throat's really fucked up and I'm out of water. So yeah, it feels like something like from True Detective or something like a cult or something happening. Like I don't know what it is. Like there's some stuff I got into when I first moved to Chico, like research wise. Oh, well, I was trying to say not say that I lived here, but never mind. Like research wise, but I dropped it pretty quick when I started having to go to Reno every other week. Um, but I'll save that probably to talk about another time. Thank you guys for watching. With you can, if I'm gonna upload this to YouTube whenever I can. Like I said, next Monday I have an interview with somebody from here in town. That'll be a regular I have work in the morning interview. It'll be pretty sick. Hopefully. I don't know this guy at all. And it will be, off the cuff. I'll have some questions ready and stuff. I believe he's an architect and is around my age. So that'll be interesting. So tune in for that. It should be around noon. Hopefully. I'll actually tweet that one out because this isn't gonna be a test or anything. And hopefully the reception to this rambling style late night podcast is pretty good. If so, I'll probably keep doing it. Like I said, it's my dream to have a call-in radio show. So let's get that trying to go. Thank you, David, for following. Thank you, John and David for moderating. Hope you guys have a great night. I'll probably talk to you guys later. Thank you. Peace.